Hello there everyone, Phil Miguel here. Welcome to the channel. I'm honestly looking forward to doing this. For a couple years, I've been watching many reviews and or other videos related to film and or television on YouTube. Plus, I am actually a film major in college. Speaking of which, I want to address that yes, I am focusing on my studies. With this channel, I will be working on videos during my spare time. During that spare time, I will also be watching some movies and or shows that I'm interested in seeing. Plus, there are some movies and shows out there that I think would be interesting for me to talk about. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this. So with that said, let's get into my first movie review. For my first movie review, I decided to review a more recent movie that came out because as of the time I'm posting this video, it will have been 7 months since this movie came out. And it's a movie that's been incredibly hated. So with that said, let's talk about Smurfs. Released back in 2025, Smurfs brings the famous characters of Peyo back to the big screen. Now, when it comes to the Smurfs brand in general, I think it's quite a crazy one. Back then, this was a very popular IP, mainly because of the Hanna-Barbera series, a crazy load of merchandise, and the comics. However, when it comes to films, they seem to be a curse for the Smurfs, as every previous attempt at one has failed on a critical level. First, there was the Smurfs and the Magic Flute released back in 1975, and that did not work well for audiences. Then there was the Smurfs released back in 2011, and that was a massive failure with critics. Then there was the Smurfs 2 released back in 2013, that was somehow even worse than the first film. Then there was Smurfs The Lost Village, released back in 2017, which was an improvement over the live-action films, but still wasn't all that great with audiences. Now, some of you might be wondering what I think of those movies. I have seen all of them, so I'll give you my quick thoughts on these. The Smurfs and the Magic Flute is the one I hate the most out of these. It's incredibly boring and annoying and worse than the 2025 film. With the live-action films, I know that people hate these films, but I personally like them.
You what?
Yeah, I know. Sorry to disappoint some of you with that, but I just can't bring myself to hate them. I still enjoy watching these films. With Smurfs The Lost Village, I actually like this one too. Plus, the movie has gained a bit of a cult following as more people seem to be appreciating the movie more for how it tried to have something good for the franchise. Now, let's talk about the 2025 film. This time, the Smurfs are being handled by Paramount, which is interesting because during the 2000s, prior to the 3 films made by Sony, there was supposed to be an animated Smurfs movie from them. But then, in 2009, Sony picked up the film rights, and that Paramount Smurfs movie was cancelled. But after The Lost Village didn't do very well at the box office, the owner of the Smurfs, Peyo Company, decided to split from Sony and form a new partnership with Paramount in 2022, where they formed a major deal to produce multiple Smurfs movies and having the 2021 series that's made in France, era Nickelodeon. So now, this leads us to the 2025 movie that's our main subject. Now, when the plot of this movie was announced, it said that it would answer the question, what is a Smurf? Now, on paper, that actually sounds promising. It could dive into more lore about the Smurfs and present more backstory to these iconic characters. However, when the first trailer came out on February 6, 2025, well...
This summer, when we need a hero, look up.
I think I just smurfed my pants.
Yeah, the trailer was hit with a lot of backlash, as it made it seem like the movie was going to be a disaster. I remember watching that trailer when it dropped, and I had mixed feelings about it. It had some things going for it, and a lot that left me more so confused. Another thing people despised about this trailer was the fact that it introduced an influencer Smurf.
Influencer?
Smash that subscribe button!
I remember people just being disgusted with this character and wanting him cancelled. Well, the good news was that Influencer Smurf wasn't in the final film. The bad news was that the movie still turned out to be as bad as the trailers made it out to be. People hated this movie, and there have been many reviews talking about how bad this film is. And now I have to be one of them. I remember back when I first watched this film when it was finally on streaming, and I thought it was mediocre. But after watching it a few more times, I've become more bored and frustrated with it. So now, let's review this movie. In Smurf Village, everyone is living their best lives by having their own thing. That is, except for one Smurf named No Name, who hasn't really found out what his thing is yet. He suggests to Papa Smurf that maybe he could be a magic Smurf, but Papa says that's not possible. One day, however, No Name wishes for a thing and gets magic powers. However, when No Name uses his new magic, he unknowingly causes Papa Smurf to be captured by Rosamel, who is Gargamel's brother. So now, No Name and his best friend Smurfett, along with 5 other Smurfs, must go on an adventure to save Papa and stop Rosamel, who wants his hands on a magic book named Jaunty. With that plot, it sounds a bit weak, but can have something going for it if placed into the right hands. This is not what happened here. This feels like one of those movies that had some potential, but is ruined and becomes something uninteresting. Probably the most baffling thing about this movie is how much of the Smurfs lore was changed. Before I get to that, I want to get into more of what happens with this movie, so I can provide more context for anyone who hasn't seen this movie. So, there will be spoilers. So the Smurfs use a magic record player to travel onto their adventure to save Papa, where they end up in the live-action world in Paris. There, they meet Papa's long-lost brother Ken. Yes, Papa Smurf has a brother as well. Well, 2 actually. More on Ron later. But when they meet Ken, he tells them that Smurfs are descendants of guardians of all good in the universe, and that he, Papa, and Ron made it their job to protect Jaunty from Rosamel. Now with that information, that sounds like enough to make most Smurf fans confused. For those of you who aren't Smurfs fans or don't know much about them, the Mighty Guardians aspect has never been anything established in the franchise until this film. Also, for those of you who have seen any of the other movies, you'll see that this one copies too much from the Sony films. It takes the Smurfs to our world, like in both live-action films, has them go to Paris, like in the second live-action film, and involves a self-identity crisis, like in The Smurfs 2 and The Lost Village. With the latter part of the story, while it was repeated with Sony, they at least added a new spin to it that can feel effective. Here, No Name's identity crisis doesn't really feel that effective as the movie progresses. Also, one thing I'd like to bring up now is that most of the characters in this film are pointless and don't do anything. The other Smurfs that go on this adventure alongside Smurfett and No Name, which consist of Hefty, Vanity, Worry, Brainy, and Grouchy, don't do anything at all. There's even the turtle that goes with them, and he's pointless too. Once they all head to Paris and meet Ken, the turtle stays behind in Paris while Ken and the other Smurfs go to the Australian outback. Speaking of which, when the Smurfs arrive in the Australian outback, they meet some creatures called the Snooterpoots, led by their leader, Mama Poot. There, Mama Poot explains more of why Rosamel wants the book. He and 3 other evil wizards need to have 4 books in order to use dark magic to rid the world of all goodness and replace it with darkness. No Name then gets scared and runs away. But then, Smurfett cheers him up and encourages him to explore more of his new powers. But while Smurfett and No Name are out, Rosamel kidnaps the other Smurfs and 2 Snooterpoots. So now, Smurfett, No Name, and Mama Poot have to go save them. And you gotta help us. So they take a magic vehicle called the Scream Buggy to get into Rosamel's castle, which is in Munich. But when they get inside the castle and face Rosamel, the movie pulls a Ratatouille and reveals that Jaunty was hiding on top of No Name's head under his hat, and that she was the one doing the magic for him. Rosamel is then happy to see Jaunty, but then the movie shoehorns in some conflict with Smurfett, where Rosamel shows her some old family photos. Now, for those of you that don't know, Smurfett was actually created by Gargamel so he can find their village and capture them. It's something that's been established in a lot of Smurfs media. However, this movie adds more to that, as it turns out that while Gargamel created Smurfett, apparently Rosamel was there too. And it also reveals that Smurfett grew up in Paris. Rosamel then puts Smurfett, No Name, and Mama Poot with the others and takes control of Jaunty. He then sets off to see the other evil wizards. Shortly after he leaves, Gargamel helps the Smurfs after he realizes that his brother doesn't love him. Once they escape, Papa then decides to tell his Smurfs about who they really are and what happened to Ron. Papa reveals that during a battle with Rosamel, Ron was sucked into a vortex. Papa was so ashamed that he decided to hide away and create Smurf Village, while Ken went to hide in Paris. So now the Smurfs, Snooterpoots, and Gargamel set off to stop Rosamel. Rosamel then turns on the other wizards by taking the other books for himself. Once the heroes arrive, he traps Gargamel and has the other Smurfs and Snooterpoots blasted, sucking their goodness into a vortex, and Papa sacrifices himself to save Smurfett and No Name. The two then battle Rosamel to save Jaunty and return all goodness. Rosamel then knocks No Name unconscious, where he has a dream of everyone encouraging him to find his thing. When he wakes up, he actually gets real magic powers. He saves the others and defeats Rosamel, and unknowingly gets Ron back, who was stuck in another dimension for over a century. And then they all return home. Whew! Oh, boy, that was a lot to summarize. But yeah, that's basically the plot of Smurfs, alright. I hope that you understood it well, because I feel like some people would be confused as to what's happening as they watch this film. As you can probably tell, the writing has some serious problems. It seems like things just happen, and they don't really spend a lot of time in whatever location a scene takes place in. Say what you will about the live-action films, but at least with those films, they do play into the fact that the Smurfs are in the real world, and they interacted with real humans. Here, however, the Smurfs don't talk to a single real human. Plus, the humans in the real world are so stupid. How does anyone not notice these blue animated characters running around? Look at these dog owners, for example. They are literally on their phones while their dogs chase the Smurfs. Which reminds me, the comedy is horrible. I only chuckled twice during this movie on my most recent viewing. I never realized this until I watched this film for a third time, but a lot of the dialogue feels like filler. For example, watch this scene.
Well, don't take this the wrong way, but you Smurfs don't know Smurf about Smurf.
With all due respect, Ken, we all smurf. In fact, I probably personally smurfed more than you ever smurf.
That sounds like a load of Smurf. Can you Smurf that Smurf up?
I can smurf that smurf up and have it delivered to your house.
Hey, come on, Smurfs. Stick a Smurf in it.
Smurf that. I don't like his smurfitude.
Ditto.
Ditto infinity times infinity plus 6. I win.
Get it? The whole scene hinges on you finding the word Smurf funny. It's not. Speaking of dialogue, a lot of the voice talent here is wasted, but I'll save that criticism for later. But one more issue that the story has are the plot holes. The first plot hole is with Sound Effects Smurf. I will talk about the rest of the characters, but with Sound Effects Smurf, he starts off good at first, but with the more he appears in the movie, he gets annoying fast. His running gag of providing sound effects gets annoying the 4th and 5th time. But the reason why he's a plot hole is because of two things. One, when he arrived in Smurf Village.
Hey, sound effects Smurf, can you back off? Even he's got a thing. And he's only been here since Tuesday.
I thought Smurfs started out as babies, then grow up into Smurflings, and then grow up into adults. Also, he just shows up out of nowhere during the 4th and 5th times with his running gag.
The walls of the moat are made of the bones of the ones who try.
Okay.
How did you even get here?
Wait, what about kicked Smurf?
Kick Smurf is definitely inappropriate. Your lucky sound effects Smurf is here.
Where did you come from? Seriously, I think the turtle should have been replaced with him instead. Or heck, any other Smurf in the village. Sound effects Smurf may still be pointless, but having another Smurf along for the adventure would make more sense than a turtle. The second plot hole is with Smurfett's background. At the beginning of the film, she says that she got over the fact that she was made by Gargamel to trap the Smurfs. But when Rosamel shows her some old memories, she somehow doesn't remember them. Like, what? Also, that whole conflict with her gets resolved quickly at the end.
Smurfett, I command you to help me at once! You're an evil wizard, and always will be!
Not true. Who I am is up to me. I decide. I am a Smurf.
So, yeah, that conflict was pointless. The third plot hole is with No Name's powers. Jaunty was doing most of it for him throughout the film, but when No Name fights Rosamel, he somehow gets magic powers. There's no explanation for that at all. Was there some kind of prophecy? Was he the chosen one? Who knows, because the movie clearly doesn't. Also, isn't magic like a key factor to the Smurfs? In a lot of Smurfs media, Papa is the one who uses magic with books and potions. Him telling No Name that Smurfs can't do magic honestly makes less sense the more I think about it, and that scene also now makes Papa a bit of a jerk. One other thing about this movie is that this is actually a musical. However, despite being labeled as a musical, it is actually not a musical. Most of the songs are played in the background, and most of them don't even last for a minute. There are only 2 songs sung by characters in the film, and 3 songs that play for over a minute. And the sad part about this is that, admittedly, some of these songs aren't that bad. On their own, they can be nice to listen to. Though, with the songs that last for less than a minute, they are mostly forgettable. Plus, the songs for the most part feel out of place as the film makes it seem like they were added at the last minute. I could talk about each song here since this is technically a musical, but I'm not gonna do so here. I'll only do that for real musicals. Again, it's not that the songs are terrible, It's just that the movie sucks at being a musical. Now, let's talk about the animation. If I do have to give this movie credit, it's that the animation was, for the most part, actually well done. In fact, that is easily the movie's strongest aspect. It stays true to the original Peyo style. It looks like the designs of the characters and the animated backgrounds were ripped straight out of the comics and brought into CG animation. In fact, there are moments where the movie can present some great visuals. However, when it seems like things are in place, there are some issues that come in. First, there's the character movement. For the most part, the character movement is done pretty well, but then there are moments when the movements feel a bit off. Like, it feels like something's missing, and I just can't put my finger on it. And then there is the fact that the characters go to the live-action world. Like I said before, the Smurfs don't spend a lot of time in the locations they go to in that world. And not only is the live-action world pointless, but it also gives the animation a bit of a downgrade. And it makes the Smurfs feel so out of place. One more problem I have with the animation is that it highlights another plot hole I have yet to discuss. And that is how the use of live action and animation is used. You see, Rosamel's castle is in Munich, and on the outside, the castle is live action, but on the inside, it's animated. The same goes for Snooterpoot Village too. Not only that, but there are also humans who work for Rosamel, and they're animated. There's Joel, who is Rosamel's assistant, and there's Rosamel's butler and bellhop. So, how come they're animated while everyone else isn't? You could have the live-action world be animated and nothing would change. Also, during the scene when Smurfett and No Name battle Rosamel to save Jaunty, the four go through different dimensions, and they're done in different animation styles. There's a claymation dimension, a drawing dimension, a video game dimension. There's even an anime dimension. For each one, the characters are in the styles of those dimensions. If they were able to change their looks for those dimensions, then how come they look the same in the real world? It makes no sense. Again, the animation isn't bad, and I can see what the animators were going for with it. But when the animation is in the real world, that's when the animation suffers the most. Finally, let's talk about the characters. Now, I've already talked about how characters such as Hefty, Vanity, Worry, Brainy, Grouchy, and Turtle are pointless, but to add onto the list of pointless characters, there's the two Snooterpoots who get kidnapped, the other evil wizards, and Ron. There are even some other characters I have yet to mention, and that's because while the marketing did show them, they are also pointless. There's the International Neighborhood Watch Smurfs, who are a group of Smurfs who live in Paris with Ken. The male ones don't speak or are given any names, but the female Smurf of the group, Moxie, does speak, but she's still pointless. On a side note, the Wikipedia page for this movie for some reason says that Moxie is Ken's daughter, but nowhere in the movie is it ever stated. I don't even think stork deliveries happen in the real world, and I don't think they would deliver cartoon Smurfs. If Ken is Moxie's dad, then where's her mom, huh? Where's Barbie Smurf? The last character who feels pointless is a giant talking tardigrade who appears in the scene where Smurfett, No Name, Jaunty, and Rosamel go through dimensions, and one scene towards the end. His appearances in the movie don't even last for a minute. But the worst thing about these characters is that their voice actors were wasted. Most of the actors in this film were given little dialogue to say, and it's just a waste of the voice talents of Sandra Oh, Jimmy Kimmel, Octavia Spencer, Nick Kroll, Hannah Waddingham, Alex Winter, Maya Erskine, Billy Lord, Zolo Maraduena, and Kurt Russell. Also, just so you know, Grouchy was actually voiced by the film's director, Chris Miller. So, Chris wasn't completely wasted, but still, Grouchy is wasted. Also, some actors feel miscasted. For example, there's Vanity and Worry, who are male Smurfs, but were voiced by women. And it's noticeable too.
Oh no, not the evil wizard Gargamel.
Well, maybe we should give him a makeover he'll never forget.
The same goes for list-making Smurf too.
Well, let's see, Papa. Okay, to date we've tried... 10,248 things.
Now, I don't have anything against these actors at all. I just feel like they weren't the right choices for those characters. Plus, they are actually putting in some effort with their performances. However, the same cannot be said for Smurfett, who was voiced by Rihanna. This is the thing that annoyed me the most about this movie. And that's mainly because of the advertising with the headline, Rihanna is Smurfett. It is in a lot of the marketing. Rihanna Smurfett, 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 Rihanna Smurfett!
Alright, I get it!
Seriously, I don't think I've seen a celebrity get used this much as a marketing tool before. One thing I'd like to bring up is that Smurfett was voiced by a pop star in the live-action films and The Lost Village. In the live-action films, she was voiced by Katy Perry, and in The Lost Village, she was voiced by Demi Lovato. With Perry, while she's not an actress, she did change her voice up a bit to fit Smurfett, and I think she did great in the role. With Lovato, she was also a good fit for Smurfett. Plus, not only is she a singer, but she is also an actual actress. With Rihanna, on the other hand, she was a terrible fit for Smurfett. Not only does her voice not fit the character, but most of her dialogue sounds like she's just reading the script and not even trying. You know what? Instead of me telling you about her bad acting, let me show you her bad acting.
Well, I'm the only Smurf created out of a block of clay by our mortal enemy, the evil wizard Gargamel, in the hopes of luring all Smurfs to their doom. I mean, that was a lot for me to process.
So how do you handle that, Smurfette?
Well, I just think about all the friends who love me and that I love back, and I get the strength to keep on keeping on. Spin this track from beginning to end. Through this portal, you'll find Ken. Thank you, Clumsy.
You're welcome.
No name? This is how we're gonna get Papa back. Why would Papa keep that from us? No name, come back! We're inside the castle.
Maybe you should slow down on the fries.
You're right. Just one more. I love salty potato-based treats, and I will not apologize for that. I don't know, can you magic some up? Hand incoming! Hear that? That's the clicking sound of evil. Let's go Smurf that wizard up. What did you call yourself again?
Seriously, how many more times is Smurfette gonna be voiced by a pop star? If you're going to bring in a pop star to play Smurfette, at least have it be someone with plenty of acting experience. But as for Smurfette herself, she honestly isn't really interesting. She's mainly just No Name's friend who helps him with his confidence. Speaking of No Name, he's mainly the odd Smurf out who's trying to find his thing. While he could be interesting, he has so much waste potential because of how bad the writing is. I wouldn't quite say he's annoying, but he's not really interesting either. I can also say a bit of the same thing for Joel, where he helps out Rosamel. I think he should have betrayed Rosamel and helped the Smurfs. I think that could work. As for the others, Ken is Papa's brother who helps our heroes on their adventure. By the way, Ken highlights two other plot holes I have yet to discuss. One, his name. In a lot of Smurfs media, with the exception of Smurfette, every Smurf is named after their personality. But here, Ken just has a normal name, and so do Moxie and Ron. Also, he lives inside a magic disco ball at a bar. How is the disco ball magic? You know what? I don't really care at this point. Let's just finish talking about this. But as for Ken himself, while he does seem mostly uninteresting, I'd say that out of the new characters created for this film, I like him the most, mainly because of Nick Offerman's performance. It helps with his personality a bit. Plus, I like that he sees the Smurfs as his petulant, annoying children.
You'd have to ask him.
I will when we rescue him.
Oh no, you're not coming with me.
Oh, we'd love to come with you.
No, I just said the 100% opposite of that.
Yay! We're going! So, how do we do this?
Can we do this?
As for Rosamel, he's the most confusing character of the film. One thing I have yet to mention is that Gargamel is pointless too. Why does he even need a brother? Why can't Gargamel be the main villain like he's always been? Rosamel does nearly the same thing as Gargamel does, so you can have Gargamel as the villain and nothing would change. As for the rest of the characters, Jaunty is the magic book, who mainly provides the magic aspect of the film, and Mama Poot is just a new ally the Smurfs recruit. By the way, apparently Ken and Mama Poot used to date.
Hello, Kenneth.
Mama Poot. Am I that predictable?
Well, obviously not, or I'd have known you'd skip town on me.
Oh, come on, we'll always have Paris.
Ooh la la!
Is she Moxie's mom? You know what, I think I'm thinking about it too much. Let's finish this. Then there's Papa Smurf, who is mainly trapped by Rosamel throughout most of the film, but out of the original characters, he's the most enjoyable to me, mainly because of John Goodman's performance. I'd say he was probably the best casting choice out of the original characters.
Because kindness always wins. Unite in Smurfitude!
Alright, now that I've talked about the characters, let's wrap this up. In conclusion, the 2025 Smurfs movie is bad. While it does have a few good things like some nice looking animation and some good performances, it is a complete lost cause. The story changes up so much of the lore and can often feel confusing. The use of live action mixing with the animation is an embarrassment, and most of the characters are pointless, annoying, or sometimes both. Honestly, this is a hard movie to recommend. I feel like for Smurf fans, there's a 50% chance they'll like this film, and a 50% chance they'll hate this film. As for non-Smurf fans, I feel like they'll most likely hate this film. But if you are looking for a Smurfs movie to possibly watch, your best choice is probably Smurfs The Lost Village. I mean, yeah, it may not have the best score with critics, but again, like I said before, the movie has gained a bit of a cult following as more people seem to be appreciating it. So yeah, I feel like that's probably the best Smurfs movie you can go with, because this film is an absolute embarrassment. So if I have to give my score for this film, I've thought about it, and I think the best score that I can give this film is a 3 out of 10. This is a movie I do not give a Smurf to watch again. This is quite unfortunate for the Smurfs franchise. Because of this movie, it's making more people, well in North America at least, just so sick of the brand. I'm not really sure what else Paramount has planned for the franchise, because, like I said before, they made a deal with Peyo Company to produce multiple Smurfs movies, but who knows what'll happen next. Especially since this film does tease a sequel at the end, but who knows if that sequel will happen, or if Paramount will just reboot the franchise again. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I truly believe that a Smurfs movie can work, but only if it has the right people for the job. But I guess we'll just have to see what happens in the future for the Smurfs. But anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed my first movie review, and I hope that you all look forward to seeing what I do next in the future. Again, I am looking forward to this, and I hope that you enjoyed this review. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.